Welcome back to Let's Mom. So today is Food Salvage Friday, and I was looking through my fridge, I was looking through my pantry, and I'm like, what am I gonna food salvage? I literally have nothing left to salvage. And that's when I opened up my veggie drawer and I realized that I have herbs. Lots and lots of herbs. I have sage, thyme, parsley, and I'm not going to use this before it goes bad. So I'm going to show you two techniques on preserving your herbs. One is dehydrating and the other is freezing them. So let's get started. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is get your herbs nice and clean, give them a good rinse, and then lay them out on a dish towel so that they can dry. I've got sage here, some thyme here. I've got one little sprig of rosemary, and then a bunch of parsley. This is what I'm gonna do. I've got some olive oil and some little containers. Now what I would recommend, if you had extra ice cube trays, go ahead if you're gonna freeze them and put them in that. I do not have an extra one. So we're just gonna use these little containers, and I think that's gonna work out just fine. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to freeze some of the sage because I already have a recipe in mind. So this is going to be perfect. I'm going to make sure this is good and dry. I'm going to chop it up, and then I'm going to add the olive oil and the herbs together in the container, and that's going to be ready to go. Then the rest of it I'm going to dehydrate, and I will show you how to do that. I'm also going to go ahead and chop up and put some of this rosemary in olive oil. It's not a ton, so I'm not even going to bother dehydrating it. Plus I already have some that I've already dehydrated, and I will show you that. And thyme dehydrates so beautifully. You keep it on the sprig and just put it on the sprig. Is that the right word? You keep it on the stem. Keep it on the sprig. Keep it on the stem and just set it in there, and that way it all holds together, and when it starts to flake off, you know you're good to go. You can just run your fingers over the stem. It'll come off very easily. And also another good tip is when the stem snaps really easily, it's good to go. And I'll show you, but this thyme just does so beautifully. So I'm definitely going to dehydrate all of that. And as far as parsley goes, I'm going to go ahead and dehydrate it as well, and I am going to keep it on the stem. You can freeze it, but one important tip with freezing parsley is you want to make sure that it is extra dry. Make sure that it is good and dry, because as soon as you put that in there, that is going, if it's got some moisture still left on it, it's going to really mess up its freezing. It's going to get a little frost on it, and it's just gonna lower the quality of it. So make sure if you are freezing parsley that you keep it nice and dry before you chop it and put it into the freezer. It's going to take all the sage leaves off. This smells so good. Bink, bink. Okay. And I've got my olive oil. And I think I'm going to do 2 containers of this. And I'm just going to slice it up. Or chop it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We'll see how this looks. I think that looks good. And I'll just do half and half, but I think that's gonna be good. I'm gonna go ahead and just pour some olive oil in here. I think that will be good. And then if I want to, like I said, I can take it out for a minute, cut it in half, take a piece out, and I'm good to go. This isn't ideal. I mean, obviously if you have an ice tray, I would definitely recommend doing it that way, but this is gonna work just fine. I'll go ahead and put the other half in here. And now these are ready to go in your freezer. Next thing I'm gonna do is my rosemary. And some of this is starting to get a little discoloration, so I'll just discard that. The rest of this I'm just gonna pull right off of the stem. There's a little piece with some discoloration. And this would be good to put in a pan if you were going to do maybe some steaks or pork tenderloin. That would be really good to coat it with. I'm just gonna kind of give this a rough chop. My olive oil into this one. Good to go as well. So I'm gonna get these in my freezer and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna dehydrate the rest of these herbs. So I thought I would show you some of the rosemary that I've already dehydrated, and this is from my aunt's garden, and it looks just like that, and I have a ton. This is not from like a ton of plants, but it does make a lot. So that's why we're just gonna go ahead and put that in the freezer with some olive oil, because I have a whole container. We're getting started with the dehydrating process. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything in here. And again, we're gonna keep, like for the time, we're definitely gonna keep this, we're gonna keep it on the stems. And you just wanna make sure that you space them out really well. I'm just going to kind of tear them apart a little bit there. And just give them plenty of room. My sage on here, and I've never dried sage before, but I am gonna take some of them off of the stem. Some of these are kind of big, so I'm gonna take them off, I think. We'll see how that goes. Smells so good. Now, one of the things that I've wanted to try with this dehydrator, and I haven't done it yet, is marshmallows. I know that sounds crazy, but you can buy the baby marshmallows and dehydrate them, and they turn out to be the same size as the ones that you put in hot chocolate. And then you've got hot chocolate marshmallows. Especially if you make your own hot chocolate, that would be awesome. I've wanted to do that, and when I catch them on sale, I'm gonna buy a bunch and give it a try. So if that's something that you'd want to see, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, and I will film that and we'll see how it turns out together. I think that's good. I think that's all I'm gonna do on here. I don't want to get it too full. I want to make sure I give it plenty of space, and I think that's good. Put all these on top. We're gonna put this on top. And I'm gonna put it on the recommended setting, and we're good to go. Hey guys, it is the next day. I let this go all night long, and the thyme is done, and the parsley is done, and I'm gonna show you what it will look like. We're gonna put it on this plate. I do have sage, which needs to go a little bit longer. It's almost there, but it's not quite ready. There's a lot more moisture in these little leaves, so I'm gonna let it continue, but I will show you how the thyme should look and what we're gonna do with the parsley. So the thyme should just flake right off of the stem, and I'm gonna show you. It'll just come right off when it's ready, and you can we'll discard the stem, but I'm gonna go ahead and get all of this off, and that's how the thyme should look. It should just come off very, very easily. Next up for the parsley, it should do the same. Just break apart very, very easily. And so I'm just gonna go through and crumble this up slightly. Doesn't need to be super fine. And we're gonna see how much we got. This is how much we got of the thyme that I had. And so I'm gonna do the parsley. Still very, very fragrant. And once you put this in, I mean, it is extremely fragrant. Once you put it into a little container, you're gonna see also just how fragrant it is. Now, it may look like I put a lot of effort into very little amount of herbs. And I'm gonna show you, this is completely ready to go. And so I can just kind of crush this up. I wanted to show you. This is the sage. Sage is a very strong herb. So this is one of those things that you're only gonna use a little bit of, depending on the recipe. And I already have a couple of different herbs that I showed you earlier that I prepped and I have in my freezer. And those are gonna work out great to pull out for any recipe that I wanna use them in. They already have olive oil in them, so they're just ready to go. The great thing about dried thyme, I honestly don't use a ton of this. And most of the time I only need like half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon of it for a recipe when I do actually use it. So it's great to go ahead and use this up. It would have went in the garbage if I had allowed it to sit in the fridge any longer. So it's good to go. And now I have a little bit of thyme in case I need it. Parsley I do use fairly often, but I was actually running low. So this is a perfect amount to restock. And then sage I almost never use, but I'm going to find some recipes to use this in and make this worth it. But again, sage is so strong that no matter what recipe, most of the time you're not going to be using a ton of this. So this is good to go. And if you have a coffee grinder or a spice grinder, you could just put these in there and grind them up even smaller. But since I don't have like a ton, I'm just gonna do it by hand and that will work out just fine. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.